Okay, hey everyone, my name's PK, and I've got here Ajay, who lives in Sydney, who's a client. He's just got an amazing, it's actually a pretty good property. I'll go through some of the details shortly, but if you're, looking to buy your first investment property or maybe your third or fourth, you have no idea how to buy positive cash flow with high growth, interstate, then this video should bring you a lot of value, because it's not just going to be about sales and marketing. We're actually going to go into some specific things that Ajay did that got him that result. And yeah, I mean, I really want you guys to get value out of this. I know so many of you on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, all these channels, you consume so much content, right? There's so many views out there, contradictory views. Everyone's an expert, and it just leaves you feeling overwhelmed, not knowing who to trust. Ajay was very similar to that, if I can put words in his mouth. And it's these interviews that actually gave him the confidence to take the next step in his property investing, because, to use what he just said to me before, talk is cheap, results are what really matter. So we're going to go through a result and just unpack it to give you guys the confidence that actually anyone can do this. I'm not special. Ajay is not special. Anyone can do this. So um, if this video gives you value, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, thumbs up. That will give it out to more and more people. Same on Facebook. Like, love, share, all this sort of stuff that you guys know how to do. Thank you so much for watching. So here's the deal. Here's the deal that Ajay got. So I'm just going to read it off my phone because it's pretty good. So purchase price 428,500. So those of you who think you need to spend $500,000 plus on properties, you don't need to. I know so many of you who are in Sydney thinking you do. Ajay's in Sydney too. He didn't spend that much. So similar properties are going for maybe around $10,000 or $15,000 more. He negotiated $2,500 off the price, even in the conditional period. It's a positive cash flow property. It's going to rent for maybe around 420, 430, 440 a week. So it's going to bring him thousands of dollars passive income. And the suburb is actually perfect according to that data. We'll talk about the data a little bit, but it's already gone up by about $40,000. Big block of land, 680 square meters. He bought this interstate. We'll talk about that. So without going on and on and on, because you guys aren't really here to listen to me, you're here to listen to Ajay. Welcome, Ajay, and congratulations on pretty good deal.
Thanks, PK. Yeah, I was pretty far away from this deal or any deal for that matter in interstate prior to interlocking with you and going through the education that we have done. But yeah, I'm pretty thrilled that I was not really sure if I would be able to do something like this in a achieve interstate. But after knowing lot of details, a lot of data that we have gone through, just give me a confidence that I'm making an informed decision and buying something. And also how, even if you know where to buy, how to buy it, and how to go about things was really interesting. So it just from from the point I was where I was thinking as an investment only in my backyard in Sydney, which is very difficult, as we know. There are hardly any properties around 600 is seems to be the minimum for any distant suburb, and those suburb comes with the factors that reduces those value to 600 or values. But I was just restricted myself to that. But again, after opening these doors that I can go interstate and without traveling, I will be able to secure something. It just make things more interesting. And yeah, there are lots of things that we learn during the education,
Yeah.
and that just gave a confidence to go and buy, take a big step to go and buy interstate with confidence.
Yeah. Perfect. And maybe let's just start at the start. Like, if you don't mind me asking a few personal questions, I just want kind of people to really understand who does the property investment accelerator, my course. Who are these people who get these deals? Because I post them at least once a week. So if you don't mind, like, so you live in Sydney, we actually ran into each other in a grocery store, which is cool. So like, what do you do like professionally, and Do you have wife and kids? I know you do, so I'm just kind of
Yeah.
asking you for the benefit of others.
I got two kids, one 5-year-old and one two and a half, and my wife as well. My mother lives with us, so we have a PPOR in Sydney, and the primary goal was to get the loan to the minimum. Let's get rid of the loan that we have on the PPOR, but the Sydney PPOR loan are going to take a while for many of us to complete. But meantime, the deposit, like the offset account was growing, and then I just came across exploring investment and how investment will help me to meet up my goals. So it just started with the thought of okay, let's buy first investment property, let's see how it perform, and then we can take further from there. And when it comes down to investment, the only place we can think of is the backyard, Sydney. And in Sydney, we started exploring places. So property chat, Facebook forums, YouTube videos, all those stuff. And then just come across to an area where the area is already gone up in price. We can't buy there. Then adjacent suburb, then adjacent suburb. We kept on going to the minimum possible, to the suburb where we think that there would be a ripple effect, because people won't be able to afford in this suburb, so they'll go to the adjacent, things like that. And we are almost finalizing things. So yield is remote concept in Sydney. You're not gonna get a good yield.
Yeah.
It's hardly gonna pay off. It's I mean, that is negative gearing is a norm. Is in whatever places I looked into, the prices are into 600s, and the rents are into 350s to 400s. Also, the vacancy rates are pretty high. So yeah, I just kept on exploring those places. Then I thought, okay, buying in Sydney would be difficult, so let's go interstate. But my concept of going interstate was to explore places, forums, find out the suburb. Then after finding out the suburb, spend time on the web, SQM research. There are lots of data. There's heaps and heaps of data available on the web. Going through all the data and trying to figure out, okay, what comparing that with few other suburbs that are posted on the web by the expert, like PK. There are lots of buyers, and they have their Facebook groups, their YouTube videos, and so forth. So I just trying to find the overlap of those.
Yeah.
Then going
What
on,
matches? What's the
what matches,
commonality?
commonality, and then actually trying to apply my own numbers into it. The more numbers, the more data I see, the more confusing it was. And also at the end, let's say I'm able to finalize on one of the suburb. After spending couple of weeks into it, I know, oh, there is a flood issue there. Oh, this has a good yield, but this suburb has never increased in a value forever. So is it something that's going to give me a value? Because I was comparing those with the Sydney suburbs, which I have seen. So again, more information I was getting, more confusion. So basically, there is lots of information, but reaching to the point of conclusion, like where should one buy and why should one buy there? So again, I watched lots of PK's videos and other videos as well. So all the videos from the content creator, for example, the buyer's agent, PK, or the others, they are talking general things, and at the same time giving inputs to narrow down the places. But rather than those, I just came across few of these client calls, which where people actually got the results. Then I was just trying to read between the lines in those client calls. There are things which are helping them to narrow down suburbs or the places way too more confidently. And that just ignited me what exactly it's that just put up a question mark. And instead of buying and then checking how the property performs, I thought let's take a leap of faith. Let's try to see what this guy is actually doing in the background, and why these client results are there the way they are. And then this thing started, and it's just a roller coaster experience from there. So what I was thinking, how much I know, it just changed. And there are lots of gaps there were in my knowledge. Those gaps been filled, and the decisions I was making from that point onward just make me more confident. So basically, if I'm thinking whether I should buy this or maybe this or maybe this, those maybes just gone. And I was pretty confident, okay, these are the places I should go, and I have a data to back that up. So I mean, PK is not going to tell you go and buy here, go and buy there. Uh, it's not a buyer's agent thing. It's not one-time investment, which it's not a every single property you will be paying something to a buyer agent. He's going to give you that property based upon his research.
Yeah.
Instead of that, what we are doing is rather doing the buyer's agent work yourself, so that you are equipped to do the same thing again and again, as long as your borrowing capacity allows you.
Yeah, no, 100%. And look, I always say to people, I can tell you, where to invest, but don't trust me. I'm just another guru or expert amongst many in Australia. What's way more useful and reliable and trustworthy than me is the data. And there's a million ways to interpret data. There's a million data points. So the way that you can actually, like you were saying, Ajay, is be confident in where you're buying and make the right decision is by following a formula or following a method that has been statistically validated. And so there's this methodology, for those of you who've done econometrics or statistics at university, you'll know, called multivariate regression analysis. If you normalize for autocorrelation, you can try to understand coefficients. And you can build a data system, not that I think this is how important average vendor discounting, or this is how important Ajay thinks stock on market percentages are, or building approval schemes. But this is what the data has tested. And the data has said to be the system, the thresholds, the dimensions, the weightings, etc. And it's been back tested for 30 years, so it works. But of course, talk is cheap, and results matter more than that. But so Ajay, like you're a good you watch these client interviews, and now you are in a client interview. It happened very quickly. So you were saying that you joined the property investment accelerator in mid to late
March. Yeah.
March, and you bought your property in April. um, so it didn't take too long. So once again, for people who are thinking, the property market is a moving train, I don't want to step back, do a course, and then maybe in a 3 or 4 months time buy a property. The course is just going to take me further away from that moving train, and in that time the prices will go up. It's not like that. Ajay got that in a month basically. And um, like, let me ask you the question, Ajay, kind of putting the marketing hat off for a second. What is like the biggest value add that you saw in the course, or that you experienced from the course, that you can share with people watching or listening to this? So of course we can't condense a massive course into a 2-minute answer, but what are the biggest things that you learned, at least at the principal level, that you can share and actually genuinely help people that are in your position 2 months ago?
Okay. So where I was, I feel that I know a lot of things, and I just need to know which suburb and what place I should look to buy.
Hmm.
And that is the question I was expecting to be answered from this course or any education that I would go for. But rather than that, the course just took me one step back to look the property investment as a bigger picture. The why are you doing it, and if you're gonna follow your plan, how you're gonna achieve it. So that sort of thing. So it's the education is structured in a really good way. There are different stages of property investment. One is the planning. When you say planning, is not only buying in a single place, it's the long term planning. Then the actual drilling down to the places where you need to buy. That's the core of that's where the maximum weight is, right? But again, um, so it's like when you go through that data, it's as good as you have drive through that suburb multiple times. And that's basically what we feel, why we want to buy local, because we can drive through, we know adjacent suburb, we know the how market is performing and so forth. So after going to the in-depth data and the threshold, so basically, yes, vacancy rate, days on market, all these are different factors. They have a number associated with it. But what is a good number, what is a bad number, and
Yeah.
how can we relate those numbers if we just have few suburbs in a bucket? Are we comparing with the right suburbs? So those thresholds just give us more confidence. Okay, where are we buying, and are we making a right decision or not? So basically, if I the way I used to uh, analyze Suburb and the way I analyze Suburb now, those two things, this was a maybe, this was a definite. That's sort of a difference. And
Right.
then again, it doesn't stop there. Then the process of buying, how we actually buying interstate. So we understand from these client calls there are ways to buy interstate, but actually going through the actual process is quite intriguing. But at the same time, with the help of knowledge you have gained, it just makes things a little bit easier. It's again, there is a big factor about human. It's a good communication. You will need to communicate your requirements and your side to the other party, whether it's a sales agent or a property manager, and also putting your efforts to find the right people for you, so that the future journey is going to be smoother.
Mm.
That, and then again,
And just on that, if I can just sort of cut in there, because I think that's a really good point. Property managers, like for me, property managers are the most important part of your team. Having a good property manager completely um, means that you don't need a buyer's agent. So they will do your inspections for you, pre-offer, post-offer, pre-settlement. They will tell you the condition of the property. They will find tenants for you. They will do everything. And most of it is completely free of cost, before you settle the property. Whereas for a buyer's agent, you're paying $15,000 to have them find and buy you inspect a property, let's say in Brisbane or Adelaide or Perth or wherever. So if you can follow the data system, which is objective, we don't want to follow a system that you interpret your way and I interpret my way and another person interprets their way, but a system that's objective. You can use that to find the right suburb and property. And then the how, which is what Ajay is saying, that can be outsourced. You're obviously the captain of the team, but the player in your team that's most important is the property manager. They can handle the rest. So can you just unpack that for us, Ajay? So you're in Sydney, as are thousands of people just like you. Um, you want to buy in Brisbane or Adelaide or Perth or some other regional place, much like thousands of people just like you. And thousands of people think they need a buyer's agent. And so what did the property manager do for you that, so that you didn't actually need a buyer's agent or you didn't need to catch a flight?
So buyer's agent is a person who will come in your property journey. He'll hop on the train, he'll let you buy the property, and then he drop off and just goes away with his own business. What happens with the property is you're gonna take it further. At the same time, instead of buyer agent, if I am working with the property manager, I happen to be come across. I tried reaching multiple, but I happen to come across a property agent. She is a investor herself. Then when she used to inspect the properties for me, the phone calls they had, it's as good as two investors talking with each other, sort of a jamming on the Facebook groups or something like that.
Yeah.
So but the point is, property manager, if inspect a property for you, analyze a property for you, or whatever, do all those works, they're gonna drive this property for you in future as well. So they can't take a shortcuts, or they just don't do the buyer agent thing where I just sell this property, it should perform for few months, and then I have nothing to link with Ajay anymore.
Yeah.
Instead, here the property manager is because they also, it's a running business for them, right? So though we say they are doing it for free, but at the same time they are it's a business planning for them. So if I able to find a good property for Ajay, then I would be able to manage it, and that just give us a continuous income for next few years. And also they have their sales leg as well. When investor want to sell, they will try to put up when this whatever relationship we are building, that they're going to use out there as well. So it's a business building for them, but at the same time for you as well. So when somebody buys a property for you as a property manager, they will be slightly more responsible as opposed to the buyer's agent, is my personal perspective. I'm not saying the buyer's agent also need to put their repo online, right? So if I buy a good property for Ajay, then Ajay gonna give reviews and so forth. But there are property manager need to have those reviews as well. At the same time, the business on the longer run, so
Yeah.
they will do much better, or they would invest more of a time or effort, I would say, as opposed to the others. But yeah, in my experience, it's been amazing. The property manager I'm interlocking with, she's really good, and she also she was not in any rush. She was not saying, okay, Ajay, let's do for this. She said, no, just walk away from this. We will find something. Even
Yeah.
in this hot market where Ajay is half convinced, so she was able to get the facts clear. There are housing nearby. What are the factors that we should consider, rather from the actual ground reality perspective? Because again, there are lots of information and data available, but the actual house and the surroundings and neighbors and all those stuff, you can't trust the sales agent for that. So you need to have a best friend as a property manager, and it's, to be frank, it's you need to put some effort, but once you find it, then the life goes pretty smooth from that point onward.
Yeah. No, well said. And if you can find a good property manager, then that's half your work done. And I provide property managers and also teach you how to find them. Like everything should be taught so that no one is dependent on one single person exclusively. So Ajay has got a good property now. He doesn't actually need me in the future. I'm always here to help, but he's self-sufficient, which is really, the point of teaching, so that people don't need you again. No, so that's great. And I think, just to kind of a last couple of things, a lot of people in Sydney and Melbourne think of Brisbane as their saving grace. They think of Brisbane as the third biggest capital city. I'm in Brisbane. I live in Brisbane. Um, why did you choose not to invest in Brisbane and instead you invested in South Australia? Um,
Okay.
this is against the grain, against the current of probably most people that or we know in investment property circles.
Yeah. So as I said, I started with Sydney as a sole and alone option. That's the only place I can buy. After Sydney, Melbourne is already being shoot up, and the affordability is not there in the Melbourne, where in the ranges where one want to invest.
Yep.
My point of view is to invest less so that I can have at least a couple of them instead of putting 5, 6, 700 in a single place, like that. So the Brisbane booming. This is a phenomenon that's going for years and years. And everywhere I go, every forums we go, that something comes up. So to be frank, when I thought about Interstate, the first thought was Brisbane, and then I gone to Brisbane on a web, and I was thinking, like, after finding a suburb, I'll be making a couple of trips there to see around, so forth. I came up with few suburbs. I was pretty confident. Oh my God, such a good yield, and the price. That is something, that is exactly what I'm looking for, which I was not finding in Sydney. But after spending few hours, weeks on that, there are big nodes coming out of it. So like a flood thing, or the suburbs. There are a few beautiful suburbs which are known for yield, but they never grow. I mean, I know people do say Brisbane booming, but where is the boom? You just look at the train; it's absolutely flat.
Yeah.
So, and Adelaide was not in the picture. So basically, because I was following the forums and and all this stuff, and they do talk about Sydney already booming, Melbourne. The next big thing is Brisbane. But again, there are places in Brisbane which have done well. But again, if I try to go and buy there, it's as good as Sydney prices, or like 500-600 in there. And also, am I buying in a place which is already grown way too much? So is it going to have that graph, or is it going to flatten up? So that is also a big question I had, because I mean, it's always a case. You think you should have bought last year. This is going to be always been a case, and only Sydney market is something like goes 15%, comes 7%. So maybe there are good times and bad times, but other than Sydney, any other place, just buy it. And if you are looking for a long term, that's going to give you a good result. But basically the data that PK mentioned is mainly for a short term growth, and long term growth is eventually going to be there for many places in Australia, as we would say. But the short term growth, so that you can build a portfolio, or at least the requirements for your end goal. That is, why are you investing at first place? So yeah, I mean, Brisbane was the first choice, to be frank, and then
Yeah.
because of the forums, everybody is saying Brisbane,
Yeah.
Brisbane moving. So, and Adelaide was sort of secondary. I mean, now if I see the videos now, I do see people are saying Adelaide, but again, it's not whole Adelaide, right? Where to buy in Adelaide is also important.
Yeah, yeah. No, exactly. And look, there's nothing wrong with taking some initial free education off forums and YouTube and all this kind of thing, podcasts. And in fact, people should do their due diligence. I feel that people rush into buying a course or a buyer's agency service or a property investment company without, like, too soon, without getting enough free education. You should really understand how to see the forest from the trees. Then you can make an informed decision of who you go with. But really, just going with free education like forums, it's kind of like the blind leading the blind. And you'll buy in somewhere like Ipswich because of the yield, or in Logan because of the yield in Brisbane, or even New University up in Moreton Bay, where in the last 5 years prices have gone up maybe like 15%. All these things, they need to be debunked. Like, these are just myths. And as Ajay was saying, the biggest lesson that you can learn from this video, hopefully, is that property economics mean that if you want to grow a portfolio, you can't just rely on long-term growth. You want and need that first property, second, third, to grow by 50, 150K in the next year, in the next 2 years, etc. And that way you can harvest the equity, take the equity, and buy more properties. Just buying because it's close to a train station or good school, or there's a nice tree lined street, that has no significance on short-term growth. The thing will go up after 10 years anyway. Most of Australia does, but you're never going to get to a large enough portfolio to retire. And so, like, this is just one fundamental thing that people miss. Short-term growth, time in the market is important. And I'm going to put my neck out to say timing the market is more important. Anyone can spend time in the market as long as you have some common sense, you have some cash flow. But timing the market is where, real wealth is made. And Ajay, you've timed the market, like perfectly. The suburb that Ajay has bought in, I think, is it right? Probably gone up about $30,000 in the last maybe few months, but it's right at the bottom of its growth cycle. What's your view on the suburb where you bought?
Okay, so before joining the course as well, I just had this myth in my mind. Myth, not a myth. That's actually a good thing. I wanted to buy a place where it's an overlap of an investor and PPOR. So basically, people who want to live there. I wanted to buy in a suburbs where there are lots of PPOR, and effectively, it's a suburb that should appeal to many first home buyers, because that is going to drive the price, not only short term but on over a long term basis as
Yeah.
well. So there are suburbs where there are immense yield, but like 50% of them are renters. So there are lots of investors. So as the market moves up and down, the economic shifted, the properties come on the market is going to shift as well. So that was my one of agenda at the back of my head. And then again, when we go into look into the data, what exactly and how exactly things are moving in the suburbs, and also not only this data, we just looked at the other data where suburb has already performed well. Then how the things we're looking for those suburbs 1 year back or 2 years back. Okay, so because these patterns or whatever the data that we see is looking in such a way, that helped it to gain where the suburb is right now.
Yeah.
On similar grounds, applying things to these suburbs. So basically, what we learn is not only we can predict how, no, we're not predicting, but yeah, we can just at least see where things are going for a suburb. In order to just verify that, just pick up a suburb which has grown and just try to look up similar sort of a data, what and the data points and the threshold that we have in this education. Just
Yeah.
apply those there and see where we are. So I mean, again. So the question to be answered, the comparison about the grown suburb and where we are with this suburb with the data, that just give me confidence. Okay, Ajay, this is something that's definitely going to move, and you should put your pedal there and see how things goes.
Yeah. Put your foot on the gas, because if you can find a data system that can be back tested and retrospectively proved, then who wouldn't have confidence, to put the foot on the gas? So yeah, look, it's kind of like, my job isn't to convince anyone to invest in property. My job isn't to convince anyone to buy my course. My job is to simply say, here are results that people have achieved from property investing. It's pretty good. And here are results that people have achieved from not just listening to me, but following the data system, and they're pretty good. So like when you join those two things up, you have immense opportunity. And if anyone is watching here and they've been confused and not really sure how to take the next step, the first step, or the really what to do in property investing, education is most important. Okay. Start with free education, see the forest from the tree, do your due diligence. And then if you still can't buy a positively geared property that will grow in value, ideally with some other characteristics like off market or a little bit under market, like Ajay got, value add potential, then that's where you need to spend some money to make more money. But that's enough marketing. I think the last thing that I'll say, Ajay, is like once again, congratulations on a great result for both you and your wife. It's great to see. I'm obviously here to help you for future properties as well, no charge. But yeah, like any last advice that you would give to someone, not even about my course, but just someone who's been on the fence maybe 3 months, 6 months about investing in property or buying the next property or getting educated, like being on the other side of that river, so to speak. What words of encouragement can you tell people to get on that boat and get across the river?
Okay. I would say the way I was doing things, finding a suburbs from the forum and then reverse engineering, applying the data into it, that's not necessary. You can actually keep all whatever 1,500 suburb in the mix and then just come down to a suburbs where you can buy. That way, you are by rejecting few suburbs, you know why you are rejecting that, and that exactly help you why you are selecting something. Interstate is practical, it's absolutely practical. um, uh, and you don't have to travel. I didn't travel, so I was never thinking that I will buy something interstate without traveling. So that's those two stuff. And there we need to see the why we are investing, and how uh, when you know why, then how will you be able to achieve it. So are you really looking at the bigger picture of a property investment and so forth. So all these right questions should come to you, whether education or any data or blogs that you read. Just try to find answer to these questions on those, and just those will explore the options for you, and that there are people who are doing it, and then maybe how they are doing it and so forth. So yeah, I mean, of course, going through the education will give you we'll just try to shorten your reads, I would say. But again, this is something, as PK said, the information is available everywhere. It's just formulating them and going in a defined way so that you have a confidence in making an informed decision. So instead of relying on someone, okay, PK telling me go Ajay buy there, I will buy there and I'll keep blaming PK. But now I have a data in front of me, so to see what I'm buying and why am I buying. So
Yeah,
data is
no,
powerful, but we need to know how to interpret it. Yeah.
100%. Well said. No, well said. I don't have a monopoly on the data. I just have a monopoly, if I can say, on the interpretation of the data. That's what's valuable. Okay, well, thank you for listening. And once again, if you got value out of this, smash the subscribe button or the thumbs up button on YouTube, share, like, please comment. Like if you're doubtful of any of this, or you're still not sure about particular aspects of property investing, please comment, and I'm literally going to help you. Otherwise, if you vibe with anything that Ajay said, or if you see yourself in kind of Ajay's shoes as he was 2 or 3 months ago, and if you vibe with me, I'll leave a link below. You can watch more stories just like Ajay's. There's a free case study link right below, and you can see if we're a good fit as well. So once again, congratulations, Ajay, and looking forward to see how your property journey evolves from here.
And thanks a lot, PK.
Okay, bye.
Bye.